Hi there, students. To correspond. Okay, this has two different meanings. You can correspond with somebody. You write to them, you communicate with them. Correspondence. My grandmother used to correspond with all of the members of her family. She would write them all at least one letter a month. And then to correspond to something, to match, to correlate with. So your version of this story does not correspond with Jane's version of the story. So to correspond with someone, to write to someone, to communicate with someone, and to correspond, to match, to join together. So number one on this list corresponds to the first stop. Number two corresponds to a different place. Okay, so to correspond, to be in agreement, to be in harmony, or to communicate. So the President of the United States corresponds to the British Prime Minister. Okay, so to conform, to coincide, to harmonize. Okay, so to be the equivalent to the same structure, the same idea, the same thing. So the view that you can see in this picture corresponds to the view from the top of the mountain. My grandmother corresponded with everyone, communicated, exchanged letters until her death. To correspond to be analogous, to be equivalent to. Okay, so the different shapes correspond to the suits, the different suits, hearts, clubs, diamonds and spades. The shapes correspond to the different suits. These two ideas do not correspond. Your actions do not correspond with your words. Okay, they don't match. The two halves of this document do not correspond. These are different documents. A nursery school corresponds to an infant school. The goods that you've sent me don't correspond with my order. Okay, they're not related to. His expenses do not correspond to the money that he earns. The numbers here are latitude and longitude, and these numbers correspond to various different points on the map. The two maps correspond very clearly. Your account of the story and her account of the story do not correspond. They don't match. They don't match up. Okay, so to correspond, to be in conformity, to be in agreement. The ideal failed to correspond with the reality. The number of votes should correspond with the number of people present. I've added up these columns of numbers 20 times and they never correspond. Okay, so to be equivalent, that they to compare closely, to match. So this corresponds closely with what I've been telling you. This corresponds directly. It's the same as, it corresponds roughly. And then correspondence, where you write to someone, you correspond with someone. You write letters to them. Two people correspond. She still corresponds with her Australian friend. To communicate, to keep in touch, to exchange letters. But to correspond, if one thing corresponds to another, there's a similarity, a connection between one and the other. A poor diet corresponds to low life expectancy. Okay, so to correspond, to coincide, to match, to tally, to agree with. Correspond. So let's see, to write, to communicate. I think I'm going to give that a 6 in formality, but then writing letters is rather old-fashioned. And to correspond, to be the same, to be equivalent in character, 5 in formality. From Latin, com, with, and respondeo, to match, to answer to. So they match, the two things match each other. So correspond, correspondence.